103.2 Preston FM.
Keeping it local.
The bloodshed and tension over the Gaza Strip goes back decades and shows no sign of ending permanently or of a peaceful solution to the present troubles. Daily we hear of atrocities committed on both sides that shock and cause distress to most human beings, bringing the horror of war into our own homes through the media. Nothing shows the divide amongst people greater than the issues here in Preston over the last 7 days by the decision to raise the Palestinian flag over the town hall. To talk about that decision and the continuing controversy it has issued, I welcome into the studio Councillor Peter Rankin, leader of Preston City Council. Peter, a very, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Hughie.
And nice to see you again.
Okay.
Would I be right in thinking that this last week has been one of the most difficult in your political career to date?
It's been, yes, it has been. It has been quite difficult. I didn't have a very restful weekend. We had a very, very big public response to the decision that we took, and it hasn't been easy.
And when situations like this arise, of course, there are all kinds of messages on every media outlet, and of course what often happens in the telling of the story or the telling of the tale, we see exaggerations in some quarters. So this is an ideal opportunity to put the record straight. And one of the questions, or one of the confusions that seem to be arising from messages hitting media is, could you explain to us who initially made the request to fly the Palestinian flag on the town hall and the reasons they give for that request?
I think we had a number of councillors who wanted to do that, who wanted to raise the Palestinian flag. We also had local residents. There's a charitable group called the Children of the Ghetto that's been organising rallies, and they officially requested it. And my colleague Robert Boswell was faced with the decision of whether to grant that, and that's what he did. We had meetings on Friday afternoon with a very wide range of people, including the police and senior officers and local residents, and we decided. I mean, the original request was to fly the flag all weekend, and that. We decided that was not going to be possible. But I think as a result of further discussions, we thought because of the awful, dreadful situation in Gaza affecting primarily innocent Palestinian men, women and children, we would allow the Palestinian flag to be displayed from one of our flagpoles. It wasn't a case of taking the Union Jack down. In fact, we lowered the Union Jack to half-mast to show that this was something that affected everybody else, not just the Palestinians. And indeed, from Monday, we've flown the flag of world peace, because there have been some shocking episodes of great cruelty. The killing of the 3 young Jewish boys a few weeks ago, and of course this insane policy of that Hamas has of firing rockets out. But I come back to the fact that innocent men, women and children are being slaughtered. I mean, even last night. And the UN has made a statement, been extremely critical of the Israeli Defense Forces for their shelling of a school.
Yes.
And they repeatedly told the army, look, these are the coordinates, and we've got over 1,000 people here. You've told us to gather people in safe areas. You've told us to gather them in UN protected areas. That's what we've done. And they sent the coordinates 17 times, and yet they get shelled, and as a result, 15 people are dead. I mean, it's that sort of thing that I think people felt very, very strongly about, and felt they wanted to do something. And for 5 minutes, we showed a Palestinian flag to show that we did sympathise and have great empathy with those people.
And the statement that was made last night is, of course, from Ban Ki-moon, and the school apparently was in the protectorate of the UN.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
When we look locally, I mean, was the consideration given that by flying the flag it could alienate certain communities and indeed undo some of the work around community cohesion that, of course, Preston City Council is proud of?
Yes, we are proud of community cohesion, and I hope this doesn't jeopardise it, because, as I keep saying, this was responding to a humanitarian crisis, and I think anybody who has seen those scenes cannot but be sympathetic and to what is happening to those poor people.
And sadly, what it does seem to have done in various media outlets is, in some quarters, the incident does seem to have brought a backlash against, in particular, Muslims in the city. I don't know if you've picked up on that or seen similar messages.
I think this has drawn in messages and emails from people right across the country and even beyond. I mean, I did a similar interview to this one with a Tel Aviv radio station yesterday. So it's not just a question of Preston people responding, although many of them have done. Many of them have complained. I mean, people have been saying I've done this for electioneering reasons. I mean, for goodness sake, I think that would be absurd. I mean, it's been extremely controversial. I recognise that. And it's drawn in. I have to say, I've had a lot of emails sent to me directly, and I'm working my way through replying to those emails, the ones that have been asking me questions, the ones that have been accusing us of being pro-Hamas, which we're plainly not. It is not a Hamas flag, it's a Palestinian flag. So I've been working my way through those emails. I think I've written at least 95 emails. I've actually corresponded with some really good people who have felt concern. People from the Jewish community who have felt it was anti-Semitic, and I've done my best to show that it's certainly not meant to be anti-Semitic. We have the only side that we've chosen to take is the humanitarian side, and we see it on our TVs. We see the 1,200, including around about 200 children. I mean, it is just appalling. And I think we just need both sides to call a stop to this. And I've talked to my Jewish friends about this, and Israel's got a very strong lobby. They've got a lot of support in this country and right throughout the world. What I've been trying to say is we support the poor people who've been caught in the middle. And in fact, I've put a video up on the council's Facebook page. It's rather amateurish, as you might imagine. On iPad, basically saying, look, there is. We have put up this World Peace flag from Monday, and it's flying all week. And what we're saying there is, look, when it comes to wars and when it comes to these sorts of conflicts, it's not the Jew or the Christian or the Muslim, it's the human being that gets slaughtered. It's all about humanity, and those children how could anybody have a heart when it comes to looking at what is happening to those children? And I just recommend people to look at what Jon Snow from Channel 4 has put on YouTube. Is just awful what is happening to those children.
Yes. And the flag also was flown by Tower Hamlets and Bradford with similar responses as here in Blackpool, and I think in Preston rather. I think you've answered my next question, because I was going to ask that by raising the flag, do you think that the view around the world could be that Preston City Council supports the views of Hamas, who are seen as a terrorist organisation?
Well, anybody that knows anything about the conflict, and okay, I know flags are extremely emotive. Coming from Northern Ireland, I'm the very first one to admit that flags can be hugely emotive. You're either on one side or the other. The Hamas flag is actually a green flag. The Palestinian flag does have green on it, and it has red, and it's black, and it's got white. So it's not a Hamas flag, it's a flag of Palestine. It applies to the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank that Israel says it wishes to have negotiations with. So I can understand why people have been upset, but as I say, it was done for humanitarian reasons. And it's as simple as that. And anybody watching on TV will see what I'm trying to say. It has been Palestinian children that are being slaughtered.
Right. And it was stated in the local press that you said it was a cock-up rather than a conspiracy. Can you explain what you meant by that statement?
Well, I mean, you mentioned about some of the unpleasant tweets, and this is perhaps the problem of social media. We do things too quickly sometimes, and it was I'd been accused of lying by saying we weren't going to fly the Palestinian flag, and then we did. It was purely mistimed press statements that went out before they should have gone out, before we'd concluded discussions. And as leader, I've had to take the blame for that, as I'm taking the flak for this, and indeed taking praise for this. I mean, it's as I say, it's been controversial, but I've had huge numbers of emails in support, as well as emails against, complaining about this. I can't actually tell you the numbers that have written into the council. We'll be able to say more about that next week. I suspect once we've sat down and done a statistical exercise. But I mean, I've had scores of telephone calls, many of them complaints. I've answered them. I've tried to answer them. But people have been leaving messages on my answer phone. I've had over 200 emails in support. I've had over 100 emails of complaint, and as I say, I've been trying to answer as many of those as I can.
And I don't know if you've yet seen this. It's actually, I just wondered about your thoughts. It's a press release statement today by the leader of the Conservative group, Councillor Eric Fazackley, who says that they are concerned, the Conservative group, that a Labour executive member took it upon himself to make a unilateral decision to involve our city and appear to take sides in the Middle East conflict by flying the Palestinian flag from the town hall. He says such a decision shows little respect for the council as a whole and gives the impression that it speaks for all the citizens of Preston. I don't know your thoughts on that statement. That's a press release this morning, apparently.
Yes, well, this was discussed with the Labour group of councillors, and the Labour group currently has a majority. My colleague Robert Boswell, who took that decision, did consult on it, And as I say, it was he was urged to do it by other Labour councillors. I recognise what Eric is saying. That is our constitution, that a member of our cabinet can take that decision. Robert was perfectly entitled to take that decision, according to our constitution. I'm not saying that doesn't need to be looked at, and I'm quite happy to discuss with Eric or anybody else ways of ensuring that anything we do in the future perhaps does have the support of the opposition. But he was entitled to call in that decision as chairman of the scrutiny committee, and I'm not aware that he did.
Right. We just have a couple of questions, because a lot of the questions and the interest coming in, you've answered them in the questions that I've asked, but maybe I could raise a couple of listener questions that we've had. And one being, and you have touched on this, what is being done by Preston City Council to reach out to Jewish people in the area in light that anti-Semitism is on the rise around the world even before the latest Middle East crisis?
I'm very conscious that Jewish people have felt that we have taken sides. I've been criticised for this. All I can say is we've done our best to show we did it for humanitarian reasons. We showed the Palestinian flag for all of 5 minutes. We're flying the flag of world peace all week, and that really is directed at all the casualties in Israel and Palestine, and I'm sorry that my Jewish friends are upset, and I know I've caused concern because Hughie, you know my family links in the Jewish community, yes. So it's something I'm very conscious of.
Do you think it could alienate and make Jewish people feel unwelcome in the city?
I'm convinced it won't, because I took part, along with my daughter and my wife, in the rally on the Flag Market and the little march round the city centre. And there were no anti-Jewish comments made by anybody. It was a friendly rally. It was a very concerned rally, obviously. People were passionate about Palestine, and they were... the chant was Free Palestine. It wasn't Kill the Jew, which people have been saying. I've had letters saying that that's what people are saying, have been saying in other demonstrations, but I honestly didn't hear that said by anybody. And I know the organisers have been very careful to avoid that. And I've spoken to them, and they know my family links, and no way would I take part in any demonstration or protest that took that anti-Semitic line.
And hopefully that may answer the question that we've had on Twitter from Dave Jack Smith, who says that Hamas wants Israel racially cleansed of every last Jew. Why does leader of the City Council support this Nazi Judenfrau policy?
I don't support Hamas. I'm constantly saying this. I condemn utterly what Hamas is doing. Insane policy of firing rockets over into Israel. Israel is very lucky in that it's got the support of America, it's got this anti-missile system, and very, very few of the rockets have got through. 3 people have been killed. The majority of Jewish people that have been killed have been Jewish soldiers who've been killed in Gaza. And I am utterly anti-Hamas, and I'm just sorry that message didn't get across. And for that, I am sorry. But it was very clearly aimed at the Palestinians. We would not dream of supporting Hamas. We condemn what they do. I am of no religion, and I was brought up in a country that was torn apart by religion. And although I respect people who are religious and who have faith at their very centre of their being, I have to say, I only respect those people who also respect other religions and respect other people's wish to carry out their faith. And just one thing in terms of what is happening in Gaza, there have been Christian Palestinians involved in this. Just a few days ago, a monastery was which had brought in not just the Christian Arabs for shelter, but Muslim Palestinians for shelter. That was shelled. So again, I'm saying this is all about a humanitarian crisis. It's about showing solidarity with the poor civilians who are caught in the middle once again. I mean, Preston is a small city, and it probably doesn't count for a lot in terms of us saying what we think. And I say that, but I know what brought a tear to my eye was getting an email from somebody, a young person in Gaza, who said, "Thank you."
And just one last one. Some people are totally missing the point here. Objecting to this flag being flown does not mean the objector is necessarily siding with Israel, as lots of people have put it. What some of us are objecting to is the fact the council has taken this decision without any consultation whatsoever.
I don't know what consultation we could have taken. Well, to a great extent we did, because this was announced last week and we got a huge public response. The original decision was actually to fly the Palestinian flag from the main flagpole. As a result of that public response, and I have to say the initial response was hugely against, we took the decision not to fly it from that flagpole. And that is why we came down on with the decision to fly it. Well, not really, just to display it for less than 5 minutes. I believe it was something like 4 minutes 40 seconds from one of our subsidiary flagpoles. I mean, it was so we did listen to what people were saying. But, a great number of people were saying, please do this to show solidarity. And sometimes, although I know another complaint we've had is, look, you should be concentrating on bins and whatever. But sometimes, as political representatives, councillors have to listen to their constituents. And that's what we did. We listened to them. And we took cognizance of what the public response was, the complaints were saying don't do it, and we listened to the people who say please do it, and we tried by just showing the flag for 5 minutes to try and satisfy everybody. Obviously we didn't, but we did do our best to listen to what people were saying.
Hindsight is a brilliant tool for us human beings to have. Would it be different if you had the time over again?
Well, I'll tell you something. My family would say, don't do it. Don't do it, because it's been a big strain on my family. And it is entirely up to citizens of this town to, if they have some complaint, to come to us. If they want us to do something, we have to listen to them. If a group of people came again and asked us to put up a flag, obviously we would have to consider that. I don't know what my colleague would do. I would hope we would all think about it very carefully and think about how national flags can be very emotive for people. And I think that's what we've recognised by flying this wonderful flag for world peace. It's a white flag with green, with a dove, We actually have two of those flying this week, along with the Union Jack, and we're very, very pleased to be doing that. And that's, I come back to humanity. That's what we were trying to say, I think, and perhaps not in a way that I realise perhaps has concerned people that I do care about in Preston and in particular throughout the northwest. We've had a very big response in the northwest. So yes, would we do it again? We would have to think very, very carefully, I would say.
Peter, can I thank you for coming into Preston FM this morning and talking to us on Chat City? Thank you very much.
I'm glad I've had the opportunity to try and get across the reasons why this has happened. Thank you, Hughie.
Thank you, and hope to see you soon. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
A local radio station.
For local people.
103.2 Preston FM.
Your community radio.